What? Does that seem okay?
Yes.
You hear now?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Um, this is a poem I wrote years ago about spending Easter and Passover and friends with Jerusalem, with friends in Jerusalem. And it was a very difficult place to live. And in any case, I wrote a poem about the problems of Israel and the Arabs, and it's quite a lot. And so here goes. And this was also in time of Easter and Passover. Oh, there was one thing that was interesting, that I love flowers, and there's heaps of flowers. There are desert flowers in the deserts that are gorgeous, and people write about desert flowers. I was a close friend of Yusuf Leon Kaka, who was a pretty good poet. And which is an understatement. And he loved flowers, as did I. And I said, what flower is this? And he said, because I saw a wildflower, and he said, oh, it's a wildflower. And I said, what's its name? He said, it's the sweet lifting smell of Israel. Right. I said, and what is it? And he said, oh, it's an Arabic name. So I put that in for good luck. The first days of April in the fields, a congestion of nameless green. Those with delicate faces have come, and a tree of thistle trees in purple bloom. Some lifting broken branches. After a spring rain, the true believers, cacti surrounded by the yellow flowers, green harmony, and a solitary scholar. By late afternoon, a nation of flowers, Tayun, the bitter sexual smell of Israel, with its Arabic name, the sunflowering Rester clusters they call Rud of the Maccabees, the lilies of St. Catherine's, cool to touch, beside a name named the Killing Fields, with its thin red bark of testimony. In the sand, a face of rusted iron has two missing eyes. There are flowers enough to tell over heavy electric gear under the Arab-Israeli moon. The words of those who see in the dome of the rock, a footprint of the prophet's horse, or hear the parallel reasoning of King David psalms and harp, or the touch of the empty tomb. It is beyond the wheat field to tell Christ performed two miracles. First, he rose, and then he convinced many that he rose. For the roadside cornflower, that is only what it is. It is too much to answer why the world is so or other. It is beyond the reaching of craft of flowers to name the plagues visited on Egypt, or to bloom into saying why at the Passover table Jews discard a drop of wine for each plague, not to drink the full glass of their enemy's suffering. It is not enough to be carried off by the wind to feed the birds and honey the bees. On this bright Easter morning, smelling of Arab bread, what if God simply changed his mind and called out into the city, "Thou shalt not kill." And I, like an angry father, I will not say it another time. They're praying too much in Jerusalem, reading and praying beside sea fires. Too much holy bread, leavened and unleavened. The children kick a ball of fire, play Islamic and Jewish games. Scissors cuts paper, paper cuts rock, rock breaks scissors. I almost catch myself praying for the first time in my life to a God threat like a nestle on my trouser cuff. Let dump rock build houses, writing cover, paste, paper, scissors cut suits. The wind and sunlight commingle with the walls of Jerusalem, are worked and reworked, are lifted up, half spirit, unwritten. What stones I pick up in the field at random have almost no spirit, are not written. It happens on a red ribbon, on a white horse, or the black Arabian stallion I saw tethered in the courtyard of the old city. What a relief to see someone repair an old frying pan with a hammer, anvil, and charcoal fire. A utensil worth keeping. Why not keep us, God? Make me useful. So that's it. A little quiet. I'm going to tell you a joke. It's not a joke. That I once read at Duke, and there were just about this number of guys there weighing 250 pounds or whatever. Right? And then when the guys behind them, I said, you know, what's going on here? I said, oh, what's going on? These guys broke practice, and the penalty was to go to your reading. That's a true story. This is called Song of Alphabets. When I see an Arabic headline like the wings of blackbirds, Persian or Chinese notices for the arrivals and departures of buses, information beautiful as flights of starlings. I cannot tell vowel from consonant, the signs of the colonability of flesh from the signs for laws and government. The Hebrew writing on the wall is all consonants. The vowel, the ache and joy of life is known by heart. There are words written in my blood I cannot read. I can believe a cloud gave us the laws, parted the Red Sea, gave us the flood, the rainbow. A cloud teaches kindness. Be prepared for the worst wind. Be light of purpose. Perhaps I have seen his cloud, an ordinary mongrel cloud that assumes nothing, demonstrates nothing, that comforts as a dog sleeping in the room, a presence offering not salvation, but a little peace. My hand has touched the ancient Mayan god whose face is words, a limestone beast head of flora, serpent and numbers, the sockets of a skull. I thought were vowels. Hurrah for English. Hidden miracles, the A in fish of waking and sleeping, the O of mouth. Thank you, sir, along with your name, for the erect L in love and open-legged thee. Beside the tree of souls, lucky the bird that held alfalfa or omega in his beak. You can do exercises for this is called for my Margaret, for Margaret, who was my mother. My mother, near her death, is white as a downy feather. I used to think her death was as distant as a tropical bird, a giant macaw, whatever that is, a thing I have as little to do with as the distant poor. I find a single feather of her suffering. I blow it gently as she blew into my neck and ear. A single downy feather is on the scales, opposed to the things of weight, not spirit. I remember the smell of burning feathers. I wish I could sit upon the grass and talk about grandchildren and great-grandchildren. A worm directs us into the ground. We look alike. I sing a lullaby to her about her children who are safe and their children. I place the Venetian lace tablecloth of the whitest linen on the grass. The wind comes with its song about things given that are taken away and given again in another way. Why are the poor cawing, hooting, screaming in the woods? I wish death were a whippoorwill, the first name bird I could name. Why is everything so heavy? I did not think she was still helping me carry the weight of my life. Now the world's poor are before me. How can I lift them one by one in my arms? I could entertain you with stories about my mother. I can guarantee you that one. I'll tell you one. I used to live on Central Park West in New York, and they had a view of Central Park. And she said, "Stanley, where did you get those beautiful bushes?" Okay. The bathers in the great bronze tub of summer with the lions' heads cast on each side. Couples come and bathe together, and each touches only his or her lover as he or she falls back into the warm eucalyptus-scented waters. It is a hot summer evening. The last sunlight clings to the lighter and darker blues of grapes and to the white and rose plate on the bare table marble. Now the lovers plunge, surface drift. An intruding elder would not know if there were 6 or 2. There is a sudden stillness of water. The bathers whisper in the classical manner, intimate, distant things. They are forgetful that the darkness called night is always the present. Sunlight is the guest. It is a moment of departure. They dress by mistake exchange some of their clothing and linger in the glaring night traffic of the old city. I hosed down the tub after 400 years of lovemaking and my few summers. I did not know the touch of naked bodies would give to bronze a fragile gold patina, or that women in love jump into lovers' tubs. God of tubs, take pity on the solitary bathers who scrub their flesh with rough stone and have nothing to show for bathing but blood and cleanliness. I misread that. I have nothing to show for bathing but cleanliness and disillusion. I sure read that, and I'll read those 4 lines again. God of tubs, take pity on solitary bathers who scrub their flesh with rotten stone and have nothing to show for bathing but cleanliness and disillusion. Some believe the gods come as swans, showers of gold themselves, or not at all. I think they come as bathers, lovers, whales, fountaining, hippopotami squatting in the mud. These are all mostly early poems I'm reading on. Come late, I don't know what time it is.
That's 2:50.
I don't know whether we're
Yeah,
on
plenty of time.
a long clock, but
Yeah, plenty of time. Yeah.
the poem of self. Well, there was an announcement by a famous French poet that the poem of self is over. That is, you wouldn't say I in a poem, you'd write about other things. I often write in my diary the obsolete poem of self with my obsolescent pen and ink. So I throw a poem for a lark, like my hat, off the Brooklyn Bridge, where Hart Crane blessed his father, dumped the ashes of his dead in a column, in a condom. I watch my hat glide toward the Atlantic, wait for miraculous rescue. But my poem hat alights, drifts, sinks down among the bottom feeders, the fluke, the crab, the catfish, and sewerage of the East River. Still music, despite distant relations to the North Sea. I hope my drowned hat shelters blind, half-dead newborns that lipped the taste of my sweatband, the taste of me, their first breakfast, and undigested, unleavened waste. The river Styx has clean water where Elijah swims with the angel Gabriel and Raphael. So the poem of self is gone. Poetry must face, may two-face, must honor the language, point out to readers the gardens of delight, hell to paradise, almost, but never before. Are the playhouses of God metaphors? Is God rhyme? God, the God of every one obsolete. Then in the beginning was the word, let's say, fish, a live bearer. The fish grew fins, then feet, asked questions without answers, to which, to wish or not to wish, that is the question. Every word is a question. Put a question mark after each word. The question mark is a fish breaking water. Poetry, mother, anything, kiss, glory. So remembering and forgetting are over. Useless boredom is plagiarized. Human beings are spawned. Trees genuflect. There are, stop, look, and listen, prayers at railroad crossings. Truth is, je, yo, ich, a former obsolete first person pronoun, stole the word so from a friend. Seems a pity that, but as a felony, when the word packs a deadly weapon. Looking back, God is a verb, adjective, article, contraction, infinitive, any part of speech, any language, since every living thing speaks God. God is a verb. He was guarded once by the Lord, means created or killed, and God is a noun, adjective, article, infinitive, any part of speech, bird song, neigh, hee haw, bark, bray, buzz, all God's speech. Now the poem of you is obsolete, and the poem of he, she, we, obsolete. Penis and vagina, mouth, anus, hands. Holding on for dear life to each other, everything that dreams, obsolete. Everything but what in the good old days we called love. Now, Saint Johann Sebastian Bach is a verb. Bach, you, so help us, or don't help us, God. We have the luxury of tears. Others weep with fluttering wings, falling leaves, so help us. Breaking my vow, so help me God. Let's see. This is a little one called Then. In our graves, we become children again. Then we're grandchildren, then great-grandchildren, and so on. Name after name, till we are nameless, free as the birds to sing songs without words, mating calls, warnings, simple trills for no reason, that call, the day is glorious. What the hell? Called an American hero. Every word of this is true. It wasn't all smell of Adirondack Lake and flowering chestnut trees along Broadway in the spring of 1824. Human sewers, mostly Negroes, carried waste in tubs at night to the Hudson and East Rivers. James Hewlett said to be an ex-slave, ex-tubman, self-purchaser, ex-houseboy, to English actors, leapt up like a wildcat. Then, like a witch, he joined a Shakespeare theater of ex-slaves, billed himself, vocalist and Shakespeare, proud representative. I pick his pocket. He played Richard I and Othello, sang Il Barbiere and La Marseillaise, and oh, say not that woman's love is bought. In one evening, jumped in silk, Mr. Hewitt called out, now is the winter of our discontent, made glorious summer by this sun of New York. To black applause. Whatever the beauty of the season, his actors and actresses were beaten up, his theater finally burned to the ground with the pleasures of lynching and cutting out a tongue. I pick his pocket. He let the winds of eloquence take him where he would. Often late at night, he recited speeches from Shakespeare in the street, something in the snow. In disgrace for marrying a pretty as a picture white woman, he served 6 months for stealing wine. Then 3 years for stealing a silver watch from the vest pocket of a dead man, a show-off laid out in tales. What good is a watch in the grave? He answered the sentence with, I have done the state some service and they know it. Where was I'm sorry. While he was away playing with himself, better people attended the fashionable theater and minstrel shows, danced the cotillion, the industrious poor, slaves who bought their freedom, or chose fathers or mothers who bought their freedom. A few simply freed, dressed up as on the one hand, dressed before, hired ballrooms, cotillions, and held a benefit dance and supper for supporting Greek freedom. Late in the evening, sweating and full of whiskey, their loins sweetened, they fell to what whites called crazy dancing and senseless music that frightened the horses. Out Ewart gave one last performance. A newspaper reported, to great applause, he made a fine speech before the curtain, which ended up, he could not help himself. In some kind of talk, you had to be a nigger to understand. I picked his pocket. Signed up on a crew of freemen and slaves, he made his way to Trinidad. Shakespeare's proud representative found a stage portrayed for Mr. Keene playing 9 tragic roles. Sometimes he gave himself laughing gas to please the crowd, or pretended to. A one-man band, Othello sang La Marseillaise. It disappeared in New York in the 40s. The streets slave-free. After 1827, for that reason, he was not kidnapped and shipped south for sale. What had come to beyond the gas lights, the wood, the fires, history and entertainment, a stained purse. I sit in the dark, listening for no reason. Beauty reports, disappears, not early morning, bird song in the city, but like the report of a rifle. I pick his pocket in the 3rd balcony of my life, segregated from myself. I am barely a ghost of my own poem.
It's about 10 after 3, Stanley. Just so you know.
What?
It's about 10 after 3.
What?
It's 10 after 3.
Okay, well, I read one more.
Okay.
Let me see what well, there's some haven't even read one about a dog.
Ah,
Uh,
serious omission.
what-
That's a serious omission for
Hold
you.
on, hold on, let me just. I'm trying to load my rifle. Oh, here's a poem. I have a book about to come out, 600 pages of selected poems that I had once just come out in England. And so I had to write a poem in one day.
Hmm.
And so I thought it a good idea to read a poem that took me 50 years to write. Okay? Called God Poem. Especially he loves his space and the parochial darkness. There his family from them grow his kind, idols with many arms and sons that fathered the earth among the many mirrors and some that do not break. Rain kept sacred by familiar summer grasses, fat Buddha and lean Christ, bull and ram, horns thrusting up his temple and cathedral, mirrors, but he is beyond such vanities. Easy to outlive the moment's death, having him on your knees, grunting and warm, he prefers wild positions. He mouths the moon and sun, brings his body into insects that receive him beneath stone, into fish that leap as he chases, or silent stones that receive his silence. Chivalrous and polite, the dead take his caress, and the sea rolling under him takes his fish as payment and his heaps of shells. As he will, he throws the wind arched back on the highway, lures the cat into moonlit alleys, mountains and fields with wild strawberries. He is animal. His tail drags uncomfortably. He trifles with the suck of bees and lovers, so simple with commonplace tongues. His eyes ripple melancholy iron and carefree tin. His thighs are raw from rubbing, cruel as pine. He can wing an eagle off a hare's spine, crouch with the Sphinx, put bishops down in chilly chapels, a wafer in their mouths. Old men cry out his passage through their bowels. No word, none of these, no name. Red worm, snake, what name makes him leave his hiding place? Out of the null and void, no name and no meaning. God, Yahweh, the Lord, not to be spoken to. He never said a word or took the power of death. The inconspicuous plunge from air into sea, he gave to us winds that wear away our towns. With breathless, what the hell did I read this? To read the power of the death and put with funds prayer into sea. He gave to us winds that wear away our towns. Who breathes comes to nothing, absence, a world. We're just going to read one more poem. I used to go to spend summers in Long Island. Right? First, you should know I'm a very naughty boy. Right? So I used to read, live in Long Island, and there are lots of artists out there, painters and sculptors, and the sculptors often paint with marvelous marbles. Right? And they do very good and wonderful sculpture, but they have the beauty of the marble itself to work with. And I thought it would be a good idea if I could try and make a beautiful thing out of things ugly, right? Rather than things beautiful. You know, you got one leg up. And so I wrote 3 poems that have gotten around a little. And they're named Snot, Shit, and Vomit. Right. Now all I have to do is find them here. Right.
Diane,
Okay.
they're in the back, she says. There's shit.
Now, when the New York Times reviews my first book, this was in it. The shit was in it. And the guy who against the poem and gave me a very good 40 years later, the New Republic published an article on my poem Shit and said what a religious poem it was. Right? So a religious poem. So shall I read shit or shall I read Snot or Vomit?
The choice,
What?
author's choice.
Author's choice.
Oh God, I'll read 2, okay? Shit. I've been taught my daily lesson that man shall squat alone in secret. I've been taken off my high horse. I've bent down, interrupted by day, to humble myself. No need to fall on my knees with a genuflection of the gut. I hunt when my bones stink. Out of the pain of the world, a kindness, a shape each of us learns by heart. Moon crescent, jewel weed, forget-me-not, hot lava, Christ, is this the ghost of everything? What I can and cannot, I will and will not, I have and have not, what I must and must not, what I did and did not. An infant gasps in ecstasy, tears of shit drip from a man who cannot cry. Most men near the death cannot withhold, they shit on themselves. When what they are is all out of them, wind, kindness, cruelty, all done, left behind, when they must be changed and cannot remember who chose to soil us, who makes us clean. And I'll do a shot, it's not much of a little one. And And there's a dog in it.
Nice
Snot.
way to wrap up.
I cannot forget the little swamp that grows in my head, cousin of the tear, snot, my lowly, not worthy of sorrow, the body's only commonplace on sexual secretion. No one, my dears, is hot for snot, or its institutions, catarrh, asthma, the common cold, although I've heard snot-nose used to mean darling and my son. There's beauty in it, familiar as the face of any friend. Dogs eat it. No one gets rich on it. And my nickname when I was a kid, actually, was, I was allergic to everything, and it was Schmuckach, which means snot nose in Russian.
Oh, man.